Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unit 4 of FYE 140. This week, we are discussing the ethical use of information. So we're going to be diving deeper into the role of APA-style writing and APA-style citations and references, which all kind of fall under the umbrella of APA 7. Now, you'll notice that this week, as usual, you have your mind tabs, readings, and activities. You have an activity that you need to take part in order to understand the assignment. And in your discussion board, you're provided with a reference that is incorrectly formatted. So it is going to be up to you to discuss how you would handle a situation like this. So the discussion board says, does this look right to you? It is from the post-university library, provides you with a reference to an article, and it tells you that it's not. It says even the post-university citation generator can get it wrong. Mistakes happen. Maybe you incorrectly cited a source, forgot to cite a source, or paraphrased poorly. What would you do if you realized it after turning in your work? Share how you would fix it and what you might do differently next time. And then, of course, in response to your peers, offer encouragement and one practical suggestion for preventing the mistake in the future. Now, when you're working on this discussion board, think about all of these AI generators that are out there. While they are useful tools, they do make mistakes, just as humans can make mistakes. So the goal of this discussion board is to reinforce the importance of checking generators for accuracy. There are a lot of great ones available. As the discussion board states, the library uses a generator to create references for students. However, it can make mistakes. So it's up to you to use the resources available on our Writing Center's website and in this course to look to see where those could appear. Sometimes there's multiple mistakes, sometimes there's just one or two, and sometimes there's no mistakes at all. But remember, when you're turning in work, you are saying to your instructor, I have checked this for accuracy, and this is the best version available. So even if you're using a resource that's been available to you, you still need to make sure that it's accurate. In the Unit 4 activity, you're going to focus on citations and when they are needed, all under that idea of what is ethical information and how we can use it in our writing. In every course you take at the university, when you're using outside research, you're going to need to be able to cite it in APA style. That shows the reader that you've taken the time to give credit to the original source, and it also shows your instructor that you're learning how to use information appropriately in your papers. Now, APA style is not something that's only going to be utilized in your assignments. They're also going to be utilized in discussion boards. You may have knowledge checks about them. So I recommend starting to practice and pay attention to APA as early as possible in your program, because it's going to be a lot easier down the road when you're writing longer papers that require multiple outside sources. Now you see here, the article that they are citing discusses potential for using artificial intelligence in public administration. On the topic of artificial intelligence, just like generative AI, it is important that you, as the student and as the writer of the paper, understand that even generative AI platforms like ChatGPT and Copilot need to be cited in APA style. Utilizing these platforms is one thing, but giving credit to them is a whole other. So you'll learn more about that as you progress throughout the course, but on our website, Writing Center's website, under resources, you will see something that says citing Microsoft Copilot. And in this document, we show you how the reference would look and how the in-text citation would look. So while this isn't required for anything that the assignment is asking you to do this week, just know that anytime you're using generative AI, it needs to be cited. Now, in the Unit 4 assignment, you are going to be given a paragraph written by someone named Jordan, and it's available below. You would just need to download it. and you are going to take the time to paraphrase it. Now, paraphrasing is important because APA style writing prefers that you paraphrase rather than directly quote. When you paraphrase something, you are showing the reader, you're showing your instructor that it is so important to you that you've taken the time to put it into your own words and that you fully understand the source. Pulling a direct quote does have its benefits because we're getting the word for word piece from the original source. However, paraphrasing is the next step because you've understood it, you've processed it, you've digested that information so well that now you can put it into your own words. Now, if you're looking here, this Jordan's paragraph that's available to us is going to pop up on the screen and you're going to take a look at it. And it's your job to take this paragraph that's right here, it's highlighting the reference to, but this paragraph, and paraphrase it in your own words. We paraphrase every single day without even realizing it. We have conversations with someone and then we recount that conversation to someone else. Well, doing so, we're putting it into our own word. Paraphrase instances from the plot, but it's important to understand that there's a difference between summarizing and paraphrasing. When we summarize something, we recount what's happening in our own words. So there's more leeway. When we are paraphrasing, we are taking each sentence and rewriting it in our own words while keeping the same original ideas. So while similar, they're also vastly different. Now I did pull up a source on paraphrasing, and it says, a paraphrase is the rewording of a passage into one's own words. In most cases, a paraphrase is the same as a summary, but generally deals with smaller sections of text, such as one paragraph rather than an entire story or essay. So again, similar to summaries, but also very different from summaries. Because you're summarizing the information, but you're putting it into your own words, and it's important to remember that you still need to get that same meaning across. Oftentimes when we summarize something, we tend to lose a bit of the original value in the process, unless it's summarized effectively. In paraphrasing, it's very, very important that you keep that original value because you are utilizing this research in your paper as research, as proof to show the reader why they should or shouldn't agree on a topic. So it says, what is the difference between a paraphrase and a summary? A summary condenses and highlights only the key points in a passage. So when you're summarizing something, you may have a whole page worth of writing, and they only want you to summarize the four most important points. Whereas a paraphrase restates the original in different words. So you're taking that information and putting it in your own words. A summary condenses and highlights, whereas a paraphrase restates the original in different words. So if you take a sentence and you're paraphrasing it, you're going to be saying the same exact thing to the reader, but in different words. Whereas in the summary, we're condensing and highlighting. Now, this document also says some key tips when paraphrasing. Look away from the original and then write. Take notes, then go back a few days later and try to paraphrase again. So perhaps you can start working on this today or tomorrow, and then by the time the assignment's due on Sunday, you'll feel better about what you've originally written, or you'll have made some changes to it. I can guarantee that the first time you paraphrase anything, it's never going to be the final version. Paraphrasing something goes through a pretty strict process because sometimes what happens is what we like to call patch writing. And patch writing is where all we did was swap out synonyms and change punctuation and do very minor changes. That's not paraphrasing. You have to substantially alter the original while still keeping the same meaning. Changing the structure. So perhaps what is happening at the end of the sentence can be moved to the beginning, and what was happening at the beginning can be moved to the end. And remember, paraphrasing, it's not meant to be very, very long passages. You're not paraphrasing an entire page. It's usually about a paragraph, or sometimes even just a sentence or two. The goal is when you do this paraphrased assignment, you start to pick up on ways that you're understanding the resource without using the same words that they use to teach it to you. So I'm going to hold on this screen for a second so you could take a look at some of the rules for paraphrasing. You can even pause the screen and read through this. One thing that's very important to note is that you will get into courses where direct quotes are not allowed. You have to paraphrase any information that's being incorporated. When we're reading literature and we're pulling out passages from that story, generally a direct quote is preferred because we're doing a close reading of the text. We need to look at exactly what the author said. Whereas in a research article, paraphrasing is more important because it doesn't have to be as specific to what the writer said. It's just what the content is. It's not so much how they wrote it, it's what they wrote. Whereas in literature, it's both. So take a shot at this. Review Jordan's paragraph, perhaps break it down into pieces, work on it in chunks, as the original document said, go away, come back, and see how you can paraphrase what they have to say here. And remember, don't fall into the trap of just summarizing it. The next thing you're going to want to pay attention to with this assignment is that you're going to be recording a video. So anything that you do to change that paragraph is going to be reflected upon. So the main questions are, why was the citation needed? What changed in your version? And why ethical writing choices matter in group work. These are things that you're going to reflect on in a 1 to 2 minute Kaltura video. When you submit, it says your submission will include both the paraphrased paragraph in a Word document and a video created using Kaltura. You're going to use the APA style template, and your reflection should be 1 to 2 minutes long. Kaltura is probably something that you've utilized before. There are a lot of excellent resources on Kaltura, not just here in this section, but if you go under student resources in the course and you scroll down, we see student resource essentials, Kaltura quick start guide for Blackboard Ultra. So that's available in multiple places in the course. When you are working on this assignment, as always, be sure to keep open the rubric, because the rubric is going to tell you where the points lie for each section. Now, if we look at the Unit 4 assignment, we see that 5 points total is the most you can get for the paraphrase. 5 points total is going back and making sure that you've added an in-text citation to the paraphrase section and a reference. So 5 points of it is utilizing what you've learned earlier in the course and also earlier in this unit about citing in the text and on your references page. So check the reference that's provided to you If there's anything that needs to be changed, go ahead and change it. That's going to be available on the document as well, where we originally saw the paragraph that we need to format. But it's very important that you add an in-text citation. An in-text citation and a reference belong together. You can't have a reference without an in-text citation, and you can't have an in-text citation without a reference. On the library's website and on the Writing Center's website, where we had gone before, you'll see a lot of great information about APA, including the types of references sheet. And in this types of references sheet, I've taken the time to pull together the most common types of references that I've seen used at the university. There's many more than this, but these are the most common. And I've shown you how they should look. And I've also shown you some helpful tips at the bottom. It tells you when to capitalize and when not to, when to italicize and when not to, when to write ND for no date and when not to write ND for no date. So it's broken down into the different references types. If we look at the original source, we would first have to determine what kind it is and then go from there. So that's for the references. For in-text citations, while they are discussed at length in the readings this week, and they are things that you've used in previous courses before, you can go to our homepage and you'll see a bunch of information on in-text citations. We have our parenthetical, which is in parentheses at the end of the sentence. And we have our narrative, which comes at the beginning of the sentence. Same information, just in a different way. When you paraphrase, you do not need to include the page number. It's when you directly quote. Now, we also see in the rubric here, the reflection, which is the video, is worth 5 points. Grammar and punctuation. And then, of course, the 1 to 2 minute length. But this is a fun activity because while there is the paraphrasing component, most of it is personal reflection utilizing Kaltura. All right, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in. And if you'd like to access the Post-University Writing Center, you can just go into Google, type in Post-University Writing Center and locate it there. Or you can go up at the top of the page in your course, Student Resource Essentials, where we're going to go to again. And right here, contact the Post-University Writing Center. And this is our website. You can look under APA style, writing, resources. There's a lot of great information available to you, as well as some writing skills. Again, have a great day and thanks for tuning in.